So much has already been said about Chaffles. Is there anything left to say? Well, I believe there is. Benedicta is back with me for another Chaffle demonstration, and this one's going to go farther than we've ever gone before. Thank you, my love, for being part of this video.
Thank you, sweetie. I'm always here for you.
Well,
and for my fans.
Yeah, you make the videos rate much higher and just look better and more beautiful. So as much as we can get you, as long as I don't have to wait too long for you to get yourself presentable.
I can get myself ready in a jiffy and don't go there.
All right. Well, we are going to talk about Chaffles. Bring out one of the Chaffles and let's have a look at it.
One of the Chaffles we have.
Show our audience what a Chaffle looks like. Doesn't look like too much. In fact, many of you would say, well, that's just a waffle. But it's not a waffle. It is a
Chaffle.
It is a Chaffle. What makes it different from a waffle? Well, it's very simple. A waffle uses ordinary white flour, and that is disaster for diabetics. Truth is, it's disaster for anybody and everybody.
Okay.
But a Chaffle is not made from white flour. There's not a trace of white flour in it. Not a trace of whole wheat flour, for that matter. So, just in review, I know we've done a couple of videos already, but just in review, bring out the two ingredients that make a standard Chaffle.
Standard Chaffle. Right. Yeah, we have cheese.
Not just cheese, but shredded. And not just shredded, but finely shredded cheese.
Yeah, you got it.
So bring out the other ingredient.
The other ingredients is drum roll. Bam.
All right, I'll hold the egg, you hold the cheese while we talk about these for a minute.
Okay.
Now, both these are the two primary ingredients. You can add extra stuff to them, and I do, but these are the biggies. These are the primary ingredients. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because cheese is a diabetic's friend. Cheese has very few carbs to it, and Mike, the meter, loves cheese. Whenever I have meals that have a lot of cheese, Mike is like, you done good, boy, you done good. Now, guess what? The other main ingredient is an egg. Yes. Egg is also what? The diabetics'
friendly food.
He is a friend to the diabetics. Almost no carbs. I think it's 0.6 grams of a carb for one egg. So by the time you take one really low carb ingredient and another really low carb ingredient, you've got yourself a winner if it tastes like anything. Now, a lot of people say, yeah, but if it tastes terrible, it's not worth it. I don't care how much low carb. After all, sawdust is low carb, but who'd want to eat that? And I would agree. So put these away and let's talk about it. I want to give you 3 words for Chaffles. The first word is bumblebee. Now, you need to ask me, what in the world does a bumblebee have to do with Chaffles?
Yeah, what is bumblebee and what has it got to do with Chaffles?
Good question. I'm glad you asked that. Well, according to what I have heard for years, a bumblebee is not supposed to fly. It's got a heavy body and small little scrawny wings. Okay. And if you were an engineer designing a bumblebee, you wouldn't make it that way. You'd make a smaller body and bigger wings.
Oh, okay.
And yet the bumblebee gets around pretty well, even though technically you wouldn't think it could work at all. To me, that perfectly describes the Chaffle. When you think about, all right, you mix an egg and you mix some cheese together and you cook it up, that doesn't sound like bread at all because we use Chaffles as a bread substitute in so many ways. And so it's like the bumblebee. It ought not to work, and yet it works. It works. It does. It's amazing. We did this 2022 challenge in the first part of this year.
Yes.
And of all that I learned, and I learned a lot experimenting with different recipes and trying different things.
Yes.
The Chaffle was the #1 thing. It has really been a tremendous blessing in our life. And even Benedicta, who's hard to please, you've kind of learned to love the Chaffles.
I'm not hard to please, but I like the Chaffles. What are you talking about?
She's hard to please. I mean, she waited around for me as a husband. So, I wasn't the only guy that was interested in this lady, and yet she waited for me. So she's got to be a little hard to please, right?
Sweetie.
All right, let's get off that subject. Now, that brings another term, and that is versatile or versatile, depending on what part of the world you live in.
Right.
Versatile means it can be used in so many ways. It's not just one thing kind of a food. You can use it in all kinds of ways.
Several things.
And hence, this particular video, we're going to show you 12 different ways you can use the Chaffle to get that glucose low, get that A1c low, and keep your blood sugar humming along happily. So it's very versatile. And the third word is game changer.
Game changer.
I know that word has been used a lot, and it's been overused. You know, everybody thinks everything's a game changer. So I don't use it lightly. I honestly, truly, thoroughly believe the Chaffle is a game changer for the diabetic. It can make the difference between whether you win or whether you lose, whether you give up the low-carb diet or whether you say, hey, I can do this. It is so powerful in helping you stay on track. And even people like Benedicta like it. And I don't think you were really expecting to like it when you first tried it, but
no, when I don't really eat too much cheese, but when you put these two together, the egg and the cheese, and you know, make it the way you did, like the Chaffle thing, I was like, whoa, this is really good. So since then, I eat it. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, when they first hear about it and they learn that the two main ingredients are cheese and an egg, they're like, all right, I don't want an eggy flavor. And others will say, well, I don't want a cheesy flavor. I mean, I want a bread substitute. I want it to taste something like bread. Well, guess what? By the time you put some kind of a topping on, or you can use it in so many different ways, it does. It really, really works. I know it shouldn't. It's kind of, like I said, it's like the bumblebee. It shouldn't work, but it does.
It does work.
But don't take our word for it. Try it yourself. We've got 12 different Chaffles to show you that can enhance your diet, can make the keto or the low-carb diet much more sustainable. And it's going to be a game changer for you. If you haven't tried this yet, you have got to. Just take Uncle Dennis and Auntie Benedicta's word for it. This can really make a difference.
Right.
Now, if you say, I tried it a dozen different ways, I hated every one of them, I can't stand it, then please email us and ask for your money back for this video.
Sweetie. No money back here. No money back.
Well, they didn't pay anything for this video anyway, so if they ask for their money back, it's going to be $0,
You didn't pay any money, so you're not asking for money back.
Of course, I'm just kidding. But what I am saying is most of you, and I mean probably the majority, are going to say, hey, you know, Dennis and Benedicta weren't too far off. This can really work.
My go-to recipe for Chaffles is this. Break an egg and stir it up. Add 1/2 cup of shredded mozzarella cheese. Add 2 tablespoons of almond flour, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, not quite a tablespoon of psyllium husk, 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, 1 tablespoon of water, and mix it all together. If the mixture looks too watery, add a little more cheese. If it looks too thick, add a little more cream and water. This should make about 3 Chaffles, so if you have 3 Chaffle makers, you can make them all at once. I cook the Chaffles for around 4 minutes. I use Dash mini waffle makers, and these things work well. They heat up quickly, and the Chaffle comes out cleanly. Chaffle number 1. Simply spread some softened cream cheese over the Chaffle, and then add some everything bagel seasoning. This tastes great and can help fill you up when your main meal foods don't quite do the job. Chaffle number 2. This fruit-topped Chaffle works well as a dessert. Make a topping using equal parts cream cheese and sour cream. Add about 3 chopped and mashed strawberries, or you could use other berries. Add a few packets of your favorite non-sugar sweetener. Apply the topping to the Chaffle, and you have a fantastic treat. Chaffle number 3. You can use a Chaffle for a hamburger bun. It's just the right size, and you won't even know you're eating eggs and cheese buns rather than a miserable, pathetic white flour bun. Use picante sauce rather than ketchup and save some carbs. You could use a Chaffle on the top as well as the bottom, but I almost always leave off the top bun. Chaffle number 4. You can cook up brats or cheap hot dogs, and these Chaffles work fine as buns for these. You may want to use a regular waffle maker and make square buns, but the round ones work just fine. Chaffle number 5. You can eat a chaffle just the way you would eat a pancake. Pour some melted butter over it and then some sugar-free syrup. Add a couple of sausages and you have a tasty low-carb breakfast, and Mike the Meater will be proud of you. Chaffle number 6. Breakfast sandwiches are always great whether you eat them for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The only problem is those terrible white flour biscuits that make up the top and the bottom. I make my breakfast sandwiches in an electric breakfast sandwich maker, and I put a chaffle on the bottom. You'll probably never know the difference if you didn't know that you used a chaffle for a base. Since the chaffle is already cooked, don't leave these on the griddle too long or your chaffle will be a bit burnt on the bottom. You could put one on the top as well, but I don't see the need for that. I just don't need those extra calories. Chaffle number 7. I don't know about you, but eggs just seem to call for toast and jelly to go with them. But diabetics have no business eating either toast or jelly. But how about eating a chaffle with some keto, sugar-free jelly? Here is a beautiful breakfast that will not spike your blood sugar. Chaffle number 8. Who does not love strawberry shortcake? A chaffle can make a great substitute for the traditional shortcakes that are so high in carbs. Chop up and mash about 3 strawberries. At only about 1 gram of sugar per strawberry, these should work for you. And you can even add some whipped cream without raising the carb count very high. This makes for one delicious conclusion to any low-carb meal. Chaffle number 9. Waffle House restaurants are famous for their pecan waffles. The days of eating those glucose-raising monsters are gone now, but you can enjoy something pretty similar. Take a standard chaffle and then mix a concoction of butter, sugar-free pancake syrup, and add a handful of pecans. Melt this in the microwave, mix it together, and pour it over your chaffle. This is one of my favorites. Keep in mind that there are no chaffle police who will come to your house and arrest you for not using the traditional mini waffle makers. Sometimes you may just want a square chaffle, and a regular waffle maker can do the job, although it may take longer to finish with cooking the chaffle. Chaffle number 10. Using a square chaffle, you can get the feel of a real sandwich. Here's a simple way to use chaffles. For example, you can make a bologna sandwich using the square chaffles to give you that feel of a sandwich. You will hardly miss that old, nasty, colon-clogging, glucose-raising white bread. Chaffle number 11. Here's a real treat. You can use a chaffle to make pizza. Make your chaffle, either square or round, add some low-carb spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce, sprinkle some cheese over the sauce, add a few pepperonis, some mushrooms, or whatever you like, and bake in the oven set at about 400 degrees. Since your chaffle is already cooked, you don't need to leave the chaffle in the oven for long, just long enough to melt the cheese and warm everything up, maybe 6 or 7 minutes. When it comes out of the oven, it will look like, smell like, and taste like a real pizza. Chaffle number 12. You can throw in some dark cocoa powder to my standard chaffle recipe in place of almond flour and make chocolate chaffles. You'll need to add 2 or 3 tablespoons of Swerve or your favorite non-sugar sweetener, otherwise the chaffle will taste bitter. Then mix equal parts of softened cream cheese and sour cream. Add a few packets of Swerve or other non-sugar sweetener, mix that all together, and apply to your chocolate chaffle. A great blessing for all of you chocolate lovers. It's been a long day, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
I have never made so many different foods and meals and been in the kitchen that long, I think, in my entire life.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, this is a whole lot, 12 of them. I'm like, we should have divided it into 2, but you wanted to make everything. I'm thankful to God that we were able to make it. It was a lot, yes.
It was kind of a big deal, but we did it for you all, and wanted to provide you with different options and show you how versatile those chaffles are.
Right.
And we didn't eat everything that was made by any means, but we took a little bite of everything.
A little bite of each one
just
of them.
to get a sample of it. And there was one I took more than a little bite. I ate almost all of it, and that was the pecan waffle.
Yes.
Or pecan chaffle. Boy, that was good. So what did you think? We've had 12 chaffles in 12 different forms. Anything stand out? Do you like any more than the others? Were they good, bad, in between? What's your queen bee evaluation of all that we had today?
All that we had today, I loved every one of them. They were so good. I mean, depends on, the time you want to eat the whole of it. If you want to eat it as lunch, the hamburger one, it was really good. And the other ones, the dessert and everything, every one of them, even the breakfast, they're so good. I kind of, I loved every one of it. And they tasted so good and filling. And it will not raise your blood sugar. They are kind of blood sugar friendly.
Yeah, well, that's the big thing in my mind.
Right.
There are a lot of good tasting foods in this world. I mean, they're all over the place. But the problem is many of those foods that we enjoy so much, they're not blood sugar friendly, and they will raise your blood sugar like crazy. So those are out. But a lot of times when you cut all that, you think, well, I'm just doomed to eating blah, yucky, drab, dull, miserable, loser meals all the rest of my life. But these chaffles were not, were they? They weren't. They weren't. Not only were they not bad, they were actually good. And some of them really, really good. Just as good as any kind of foods that you could get otherwise. So to me, chaffles are a real win, and if you are fighting diabetes and fighting high glucose and you don't know about chaffles, it's almost like you're fighting with one hand tied behind your back. You're not getting both punches in, and so you need to discover the world of chaffles. We'll have some recipes in the description. And, of course, you can always play the video over and check out how these things are made. We went through them quickly, but the point is there are just an infinite numbers. We did 12 versions.
Yeah, that's a great number of it, like 1 dozen.
had we really wanted to, we could have come up with 25 or 30 or 40.
No.
Not all the same night.
Oh, okay.
But there are that many different versions of chaffles that you can have. Probably most of you know my wife Benedicta, but few of you know the amazing paths God has led her to bring her to where she is today. Benedicta was orphaned at an early age and lived with an elderly stepmother growing to adolescence. They were so poor, Benedicta had to drop out of school and sell food door to door for them to survive. As a teen, Benedicta got a job as a housemaid, which developed into a nightmare. She was required to cook, clean, wash, take care of the children, and she had to get up at 4 a.m. every day just to get her work started. Worse than that, she was frequently beaten. At around 20, she moved to the huge city of Lagos, where she started her own little business. Sometimes she prospered, but at other times she nearly starved and went days at a time without eating. At one point, she became so sick she passed out in her room and nearly died. She found herself outside of her body, and she was able to see the splendors of heaven until she was sent back with a command to share her story. One day, however, her life changed when an American evangelist came to her community to preach, and of course, that was me. The rest, as they say, is history. Benedicta has shared her life story in a recently published autobiography, and you can get it on Amazon as either an ebook or a paperback. A link to this book on Amazon is in the description.